Welcome back to the Veteran Teacher Files. I'm your host, the Dragon Lady. Today's episode is about what I thought was going to be a simple Sunday morning at church, and what turned out to be a full-on reminder that I'm still very much a teacher, even when I'm technically off the clock. Just without lesson planning, which, as it turns out, was my first mistake. For context, I volunteer in the 3 to 4-year-old room at my church's kids program. It runs for an hour and 15 minutes, and the structure is always the same. Free play and socializing, an activity, worship video, snack, another activity or craft, and outside play. On paper, it sounds pretty organized. In reality, it's controlled chaos, held together by routine, snacks, and hope. I've been doing this for about 8 months now, every other Sunday for about an hour and a half. And in my mind, it's never really felt like school. It's church. It's kids playing, coloring, snack time, and reminding tiny humans that we don't lick things off we find off the floor. Very manageable, at least usually. Now, I'm pretty type A. If I can, I like to know what I'm walking into. So on Saturdays, when I know that I'm serving on Sunday, I'll skim the lesson plan. I'll mentally prepare, and I'll even think through some transitions. But not this weekend. This weekend, I gave myself a guilty, a term that I picked up from a friend, which means I'm giving myself permission to not do anything and not feel guilty about it. So yeah, permission to not do anything, so no planning, no prepping, just show up and rely on my experience and faith on the Lord. So yeah, felt pretty reasonable on Saturday night. And then Sunday morning hit. And I'm feeling pretty emotionally drained, which is why I gave myself a guilty. At work, I've been navigating a bittersweet transition. And at home, my youngest is promoting from his daycare program, which he's been a part of since he was 18 months old because he's starting TK. And my TKer is starting kindergarten. So I'm doing the mommy math in my head where my babies aren't babies anymore. So I walk into church a little tired, a little emotional, and then I realized that, oh yeah, it's not just any Sunday, it's Transition Sunday. So Transition Sunday means it's the day that the kids switch groups. They age out of the current group and they go to their next group. So I'm already feeling a little emotionally raw, and now I have to watch my oldest walk away from my group to go join the older kids. Cue the internal mommy tears. So I turn around, and at least I have my youngest with me. But I was not emotionally prepared for what I was seeing. Because when I turned around after watching my baby girl walk away in the window, I realized I was in a room with 8 students, which is great, but 7 of them were boys, and I had one very sweet girl, and the energy shifted immediately. Because when I say boy energy, I mean boy energy. There was constant motion, constant noise, constant testing of every possible boundary for the next hour 15. Running, yelling, touching everything, wondering what things tasted like. How far can this go? Moving constantly, just full speed preschool chaos. So we had some Play-Doh laid out, and fortunately, I'm not the only adult in the room. And I saw the little Play-Doh tubes in the morning when I got there, before the 5-year-olds left us. And usually we have a couple of activities laid out, some coloring, some puzzles, some Play-Doh, something quiet. Of course, on this day, they didn't want the quiet activities. We had kids kind of all over the room, which is fine. It happens occasionally, especially on busy days. Think Easter, think Christmas. But anyways, I remember seeing the Play-Doh. And so the preschoolers, these 3-year-olds, are playing with the Play-Doh. And all of a sudden I start to hear, look at my poopy pancake. Look at my poopy sausage. Look at my poopy paper. Because there's only so many shapes that a 3-year-old can make with Play-Doh. And so one of the other teacher's in the room with me walks over and he's like, hey, we're not using the word poop. We're not saying poopy. We're just not using that word. And he kind of goes back to where he was standing and monitoring. And a few seconds later, I hear, look at my not poopy sausage. Look at my not poopy pancake. So that's how that was going. So I decided to move from my little location to go sit with them at the not poopy Play-Doh table. And then I see the tubes, not the tubes, but the little containers of Play-Doh. And I realized, oh man, because these kids had been not left unattended, but there was so much going on. There's like race cars flying, there's kids trying to stand on bricks, or, not real bricks, but the little cardboard bricks. And so it was just, there's a lot of eyes everywhere going on. And we weren't really focused on the Play-Doh that had all of a sudden become that one giant blob of Play-Doh. But it was still pretty because everything still had its own color, like it hadn't fully mixed yet. So I was like, oh no. It was such a pretty mess at the moment. I remember there was this beautiful, bright, vibrant bubblegum pink color, which I even opened up and sniffed at the beginning because I was like, does it smell? Because it just looks so pretty. And all of a sudden I'm seeing it smeared and swirling into this giant Play-Doh ball, which I know by next weekend is just going to be bleh. Not brown, not gray, just that Play-Doh bleh, So, yeah. Anyways, after free play, we get them on the carpet for some worship time. I'm trying to pump up the video. We're doing the countdown. The video starts, and they're into it for about 2 minutes. And then the first one starts flopping over to his belly, and he's like, oh, look, I can take off my shoes with my mouth. And the other one's flopping on his belly. And then the first one's trying to put his feet in the second one's face as he's on his belly. So I'm like, boys, we're not laying on our bellies. We're sitting on our bottoms, crisscross applesauce. I'm doing the whole thing. Then another one stands up because he wants to play with the cars. He saw that Zuma's in there, which is, if you don't know, is a Paw Patrol character. So he's all about it. And he's like, Zuma, Zuma, Zuma. And then another one's like, well, if he's playing with toys, I want to get that Thomas the Train over there. So now it's like, okay, guys, no. We're back to the video. And there's so much commotion and just like distraction going on that I'm sure they're not watching the video. So yeah, we tried our best. We really did. And for a couple of minutes in there, we really were focused, especially the really cute parts when there was a cartoon talking and stuff, or when one of us could make a exaggerate, like, oh wow, look what Jesus just did, and kind of like redirect the kids back to the video. But yeah, that was a little rough to get through. After that, we did an activity. So we're standing with the activity, or at least my partner, another one of the adults, she's standing up and we're explaining the activity. And we have these chairs lined up, and it's kind of like a altered musical chairs game that we're going to do. And in about 30 seconds into explaining this activity, which I thought was going to be pretty captivating to them, one of them stands up, grabs himself, and announces, I gotta pee! And then he just bolts it to the bathroom. Okay. And then 2 more stand up and they're like, I gotta pee too, while also grabbing themselves. I didn't know that peeing was so contagious, but I guess so. So we kind of had to like stop the activity directions and do a whole little like potty intervention discussion about one person at a time, making sure we wash our hands, just the whole, yeah. Anyways, we eventually got through that activity, which, like I said, was like it was a modified musical chairs because everyone has a seat at Lord's table. But the kids aren't walking around the chairs. These are 3-year-olds. So they're, again, testing the boundaries. They're seeing how far they can run. How wide can they make this arc? Can they include the tables while running around the chairs? So we did the best we could. After that was snack time, which is usually, a reset moment, a nice little calming moment, a little sit down and let's breathe moment. But when I opened up the cupboards, they saw the selection, the Cheez-Its, Goldfish, gummy snacks, I don't know, animal crackers, whatever was up there. And at that moment, it was no longer like a sit down and wait for your snack. I had customers. They were yelling out, I want Cheez-Its, I want Goldfish, I want this, I want that, I want this. And teacher voice comes in every now and then. And the you get what you get and you don't throw a fit came out, and I think it was Cheez-Its yesterday. So Cheez-Its it was. Everyone gets Cheez-Its. Everybody gets water. And then they're asking for more Cheez-Its. They want seconds. Okay. Then they're asking for thirds. Some of them are asking for fourths. It's like, hey guys, this is a snack. This isn't a full meal. But again, they're testing every single boundary. So not as peaceful as I thought it was going to be. So after that, we make it outside and we get a chance to breathe. We actually did one more activity, which went well. Then we go outside. We're doing great. And before we know it, it's time to wrap up service. Now, at the beginning, there was this one little boy who was crying for like the first 30 minutes, full on meltdown, first day of school, kind of situation. He didn't want to separate from his parents. He totally didn't want to be there. I hung out with him. I was the buddy. I comforted him. I sat with him. I reassured him. And at the end, by the time we were in the playground and his parent got there, he didn't want to go. He was having fun. He was laughing. He had, like I said, found the playground. And just like that, transition had done the thing it's supposed to do. And that's what we do as teachers. We help children walk into new spaces. And sometimes they're unsure of themselves, and we help them settle in. We help them adjust, and we watch them over the next few months grow past us and past the support they were giving them and outgrow us onto the next transition day. So now that I know what transition day looks like, I will be better prepared for the next time I serve, because it takes a couple of weeks to get kids to get down with the routine, and I'll be ready for next year's transition day too. And yeah, this was also a really nice reminder of why I was never really a kindergarten teacher. I liked kindergarten. I just never enjoyed the first couple of weeks at kindergarten. Just that routine, that rawness of kids, that non-school readiness vibe, the energy, just all of that. It's really exhausting. And now I'm probably like 20 years older than I used to be then. So I'm a bit more tired. But anyways, even outside the classroom, even in a kid's church room, even on a Sunday morning when I thought it was off the clock, kids are still kids and teachers gonna teach. Because I fell right into teacher mode on yesterday, thinking about the routines, thinking about the lesson plan, thinking about how, yes, we had to transition these kids and get them used to our routines and our procedures in our new setting. So teachers are still teachers no matter where you put us. Anyways, I want to hear from you. What's a moment where you thought you were walking into something calm and organized, only to immediately realize you were absolutely not prepared? Drop your "I wasn't ready for this" story in the comments. I really want to hear them. Thank you for joining me for another episode of the Veteran Teacher Files. I'm your host, the Dragon Lady. If you enjoyed today's episode, make sure to subscribe, follow, and share the podcast with someone who understands that sometimes the hardest part of working with kids isn't the lesson plan. It's everything that happens around it. Until next time, stay strong, stay caffeinated, and never underestimate Transition Day.